I'm William Kumwembe with Business Time on Times Television, courtesy of Skyband. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines. And in the program today, World Bank tips Malawi on ending poverty, and it's divorce time as Paladin offloads Kayelekera stake. We have these and other stories. Stay tuned if you could. Hello and welcome. In our main story in the program today, for some time Malawi has been ranked among least developed and poorest countries in the world. A recent study by the Global Finance magazine of the United States, for instance, ranked Malawi the fourth poorest country in the world. The country has a population of 17.5 million people, and nearly 70% live below the income poverty line of $1.90 per day, with poverty concentrated in rural areas where 95% of the poor live. The World Bank has since challenged the country to address various socio-economic issues that are crippling the economy. We have the whole story in this report.
Crept up again, so that now debt is consuming about 5% of GDP, and this risks becoming a serious issue in terms of constraining the space for Malawi government to invest in development and in poverty-reducing expenditures. I think the debate we've had with government over the last few years has been about focusing the subsidies in the FISIP so that they're focused on the farmers who can best benefit from that. And that means not the richest farmers don't need subsidies at all. The very poorest people don't have the resources to really invest in farming. So it's trying to identify the middle group, who are the group for whom these subsidies can make the biggest difference. So it's trying to ensure the subsidies are well focused on the people for whom they will achieve the biggest impact. I think we will be focusing on the same kind of themes that are in the monitor. I think you're going to hear these themes repeatedly in our public statements going forward.
When is it coming?
That's a very good question. I would hope by the end of this calendar year.
Dual-listed miner Paladin Energy Limited on Monday announced intentions to offload its 85% stakes in the country's Kayelekera uranium mine, a move that has attracted mixed reactions. The Malawi government, which owns the remaining 15% stake, was yet to respond to Paladin's intent to let go of its shares in the mine. The government granted Paladin mining license in April 2007 for a period of 15 years. Following the signing of a development agreement, construction commenced in June 2007 and was completed in April 2009. Paladin intends to sell off its shares to Haile Motors, a subsidiary of Lotus Resources, a joint venture with Chichewa Resources. More in this report, read now studios by Sharon Chirwa.
The government granted Paladin a mining license in April 2007 for a period of 15 years following the signing of a development agreement. Construction commenced in June 2007 and was completed in April 2009. Paladin's stake in Kayelekera will be sold for $5 million, comprising $200,000 in cash and $4.8 million in Haile shares to be issued by Paladin, according to a statement issued yesterday and seen by Times. This will include $1.8 million upon completion, which is subjected to a 12-month voluntary escrow, as well as a $3 million on the third anniversary of completion. The issue price will be based on the lower of the 30-day volume weighted average price at the time of the issue or the highly capital raising in the 90 days preceding. Paladin Chief Executive Officer Scott Sullivan says selling its interest in Kayelekera will provide the company with additional capital and other resources available for that purpose, and also eliminate the significant ongoing care and maintenance costs associated with Kayelekera. Paladin suspended production at its Kayelekera uranium mine in 2014 for a care and maintenance exercise. However, low uranium prices on the global market forced the miner not to resume production thenceforth. Reacting, Deputy Director of Mines Peter Chulumanga and government had seen the communication but was still working on modalities on how to respond. In its response, among other things, the government would have to consider the terms and conditions stipulated in its agreement with Paladin and other related laws and regulations. In a separate statement yesterday, Highly Metals says the company has entered into agreement with Paladin to acquire 65% interest in Kayelekera. The firm says it will have an option to acquire a further 20% from Chichewa. The acquisition of 65% of Kayelekera is an excellent opportunity for HCO. Kayelekera is a world-class uranium asset that has produced over 10.9 MLB of uranium and represents an opportunity to use the past production information to re-engineer certain mining and processing processes, reads part of the statement. For years, the Kayelekera mine has been perceived by some as the white elephant to the Malawi government and its people, as other commentators were saying the state ventured into a hasty and raw deal. Media reports suggested that by 2017, Malawi lost about 19.6 billion kwacha through tax exemptions and royalties in the uranium mining deal, quoting a Berlin-based consultancy firm Open Oil. But the report was quashed by then Minister of Finance Guru Gondwe, who said the figure was way too high.
Remember, this is Business Time right here on Times Television with me, William Kumwembe. It is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country, courtesy of Skyband. We'll be right back. Welcome back. International trade expert Dave Kamru has tipped Malawi to consider enlarging its export base if it is to become competitive on the global market. Kamru, a senior consultant at the CITC Investment and Trade Consultants, was speaking on Monday during a national export strategy review and report findings validation workshop in Lilongwe. More in this report.
This comes against a background that Malawi's exports deteriorated during the implementation of the National Export Strategy 1, when exports for 2018 were projected at $1.1 billion, much less than the $1.47 billion exports recorded in 2012. Kamru said NES1 was overdesigned and too ambitious to be realized within a 5-year period, given the prevailing conditions. He added that Malawi should mobilize higher levels of investment into priority areas with focus on building export-oriented manufacturing and services activities.
This country is very blessed. This country has a lot of opportunities, and this country has a lot of support. This design of the National Export Strategy 2, the government wants to make sure that it's learning from its experience, that the government do not commit the same mistakes that happened in NES1. So today's findings was the diagnostic. It's the results of our findings for the 5 years that were there. Okay? We're going to use the findings in the design structure of the National Export Strategy, where those 5 pillars actually make sense. That it has genuine impact on the economy, impact with regards to job creation, impact with regard to inclusive development, impact with regard to sustainable development, impact with regards to FDI and technology transfer. We want to make sure that the design takes that into consideration. We also want to make sure that the relevance of the NES1, which is still relevant for NES2, okay, is maintained. But we want to address the issue with regards to the efficiency and effectiveness of the implementation. The NES design is the most comprehensive strategy paper that we have come across. There's a lot of love, a lot of collaboration that has been put into, but it was over-designed.
The Commonwealth, who are the funders of both projects, added that the challenge of transforming Malawi from a least developed country into a country which is highly responsive to international trade dynamics and globally competitive is a challenge to which the key stakeholders from the public and private sectors must rise. Its trade advisor, Yinka Bandere, said in order to harness export opportunities, a number of factors within the economy must function well, not least improving on the ease of doing business, particularly trading across borders, domestically, regionally, and internationally.
The Commonwealth Secretariat is working as a partner with the Malawian government. That includes all the ministerial agencies and the stakeholders that include private sector associations, private sector entities and civil society. So this process of reviewing the National Export Strategy, which was designed 2013 to 2018, is a first step at looking at what was achieved in terms of the expected outcomes in terms of export growth, export volume, and looking at the challenges to make sure that when we go into the design of the new National Export Strategy, that we understand what may need to change. So this review report has been a comprehensive analysis of the data. It's data-driven in terms of what can we see of the markets that Malawi has been able to enter or expand its volume of goods and services. Now, what the report tells us at this point is that there has been a mixed outcome. So some markets have not expanded. So for oilseeds, for example, which was one of the sectors where we expected to expand growth, that hasn't been achieved between 2013 and 2018.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Tourism, Ken Ndala, said validation of the report findings will lead to consultations, designing and launching the NES 2, which is likely going to take up to March 2020. From Lilongwe, I'm Chimoyo Mangazi.
Now, in a quest to effectively regulate the construction industry, the National Construction Industry Council has established a consultative platform encompassing all stakeholders involved in the various stages of a project. This follows collaboration gaps that led to irregularities and unnecessarily delays of the projects that the council identified. Chimwemwe Mangazi has the whole story in this report.
The first construction sector joint consultative group meeting was held in Lilongwe on Monday under the theme Excellency Through Collaboration in Construction. Minister of Transport and Public Works Raf Joma said there was a lot of misunderstandings among players and stakeholders in the industry on their roles and responsibilities, hence the move.
Situations are good. It is happening for the first time. There could have been other gatherings before, but perhaps maybe they were not accommodating everyone. They were not bringing everybody, every stakeholder in the open so that they can be confronted, so that they could be given a chance to explain themselves, because sometimes it's just a question of misunderstanding. You may think that this was supposed to be done by so-so, when in actual fact you were the one who was supposed to do it. So it is an open forum where everybody is going to explain themselves, and therefore all stakeholders will understand the roles of each other, and they will also understand their roles. So I think we should expect positive results from this. We all have to admit that infrastructure is a catalyst for economic development in every country, and particularly here in Malawi, one would almost say infrastructure is the identity of the DPP government, because it is the state president, Mr. Sakafita Mutarika, but also the whole DPP as a party that is ruling in this country. So I think we have come to a point in this country where we should not just be happy with the number of projects that have been done.
NCIC Chief Executive Officer Linda Piri added that the construction sector is wide and needs collaborative efforts with stakeholders to be well regulated.
We have been facing challenges, and it was impossible for NCIC to deal with all the challenges single-handedly, because we are not the sole player in the construction sector. The construction value chain is very wide, complicated, and it has many players, as you are aware, from the project concept to completion. There are planners that are involved, project designers, when the project starts, contractors, supervisors, and then at the end of the day, beneficiaries of projects, which are public, members of the public, you and me, are also involved and must also take interest. As we have been implementing our role as a regulator of the construction industry, and when we were developing the National Construction Policy, which was approved by government in 2015, we recognized the challenges that were being faced, and we thought it wise to put together this joint construction sector working group, so that all stakeholders must meet annually to iron out issues that are negatively affecting the construction industry, that are hampering the success for the industry to move forward.
From Lilongwe, I am Chimoyo Mangazi.
And Malawi Stock Exchange-listed hospitality chain Sunbelt Tourism says the future looks bright despite rising competition. Sunbelt Board Chairperson Philip Madinga was speaking Blantyre on Monday during the firm's annual general meeting. Madinga says the group believes that customer experience will differentiate them from the competition. He explains in this interview.
Always excited to come interact with our shareholders, where we share how the business with them, how the business has performed the previous year. As you noted in our presentation, the business is doing very well. We registered good growth last year, despite the challenges that was experienced last year. In my report to the members, to the shareholders, I did highlight that we operated in a market where there was stability in terms of the economic, the operating environment. We saw inflation coming down. With that, interest rates also came down. This was quite significant for us because we've been using debt financing to manage some of our key projects that we're running with at the moment. Sunbelt Capital and Sunbelt Mount Sochi continue to be our significant contributors to our business, but we're beginning to see some of the businesses also beginning to grow and doing very well in terms of contribution. We've seen Sunbelt Livingstonia giving in a very good contribution towards the group. Sunbelt Incorporated as well has also come right in the year in 2018. But as part of our plan and diversification program, our plan is to increase our inventory in the market, especially in the key hotels that I've just mentioned. In particular, the project that we're busy with at Sunbelt Livingstonia to construct a new 42-room hotel. We believe that is going to be strategic, not only because of its proximity from the capital city of Lilongwe, but also because of the environment that it's set. We're also looking at finalizing the refurbishment of the other rooms at the Livingstonia Beach Hotel to give them a new look and feel, so that this hotel can also contribute towards the performance of the group. In Mangochi, Sunbelt Corpora is also undergoing rehabilitation or refurbishment. We expect that the Sunbelt Corpora should be ready with all the rooms by end of this month or June. Again, to support the growth and the diversification of our business. I know that the people are quite excited and eager for the majority shareholder to exit or divest from Sunbelt. And we continue to have those discussions with the major shareholder, which is government. But our view is that whilst a decision is being considered by the majority shareholder, we need to continue with business. And that's why we've seen that the past 4 years, or I would say 5 years, we've continued with our rehabilitation and refurbishment program to make sure that not only do we sustain the business, but also ensure that we give a good return to our shareholders. And that's why year on year we've paid a dividend. I think we are having real growth in terms of revenues, but we're also mindful of the fact that we need to start re-engineering our business and managing our costs so that we can sustain business for the future. We continue to have discussions with government, and as I mentioned, I think I've just mentioned now, that the government, the majority shareholder, is receptive to that discussion of divesting from Sunbed, but it's something that needs to be thought through, because at the end of the day, you can divest from Sunbed, then what happens? What do you do with the money? And I would want to mention here that there are positive indications from the majority shareholder that they would want to bring in new shareholders into the business. So we'll continue with that discussion.
Events often need a look to make them complete. When Sharon Nkwazi realized she has a knack in the creative world by working, she thought of a decor and has worked hard at it. In Budding Entrepreneur segment today, Sharon Nkwazi talks to Sharon Chirwa on how this has worked out for her.
When I was pregnant, I wasn't working then. I was just at home getting bored. And then I had so many wine bottles, you know, that I was just keeping. And then I started decorating them with like wool and yarn and glue and all these things. And I was just posting them on my social media, and people are like, you know what? You can actually sell these things. And I actually started selling them, making money off them. And then that's when we went to the birthday party, and I was like, you know what? I can actually do this. I can make money off making people's events colorful. And that's where Dazzle Events was born. It was hard. So imagine someone who, I didn't have a name then. People already had their favorites, you know, people that already started this way back, and this is just someone that has just started, and I did not have enough material. My first event, I borrowed literally everything from the chairs to the seat covers to the fabric that I used. So it was really hard because I really didn't have anything at all, and people didn't know me. So to actually find customers, I actually ended up having events, making them very cheap so that my name can be put out there and people can notice me. I really wanted to quit. There were times where, so I had 2 employees. There are times that I'm not even making money off my business, and I actually have to take my own personal money from my job to actually pay these people. So I wanted to give up. But then I looked at, there's one person that I actually look at who is in the decor business. I looked at her, and when I went on her page, I'm like, you know what? She started way back, probably years ago, but she's actually getting noticed now. So that actually made me keep going, and I am glad that I did not give up because business is good now. I would say probably a year plus. But even up until now, I am making profit, yes, but whatever profit that I am making, I'm still investing in my business, making sure that it's expanding. So yeah, but I am making profit. It's not going to be easy, it's going to be hard. There are times that you're going to feel like crap, sometimes you want to give up, but don't give up. It takes patience, it takes a lot of enduring. So you have to endure to make sure that you actually be where you are, and yeah, just making sure that they're being patient. It takes patience. Malawian economy is really bad now. So as I said, there are times where maybe I can be a month or 2 months without actually having an event, and you actually have an event, but because people are complaining that no, they want to have a fancy wedding or a fancy engagement, but they don't have the money for it, you know. So it's really not accommodating at all, but we just need to make sure that we survive.
Well, Sharon's talk on DECO has also brought us to the end of today's edition of the program Business Time on Times TV. This is a magazine program where we bring you major business and economic news stories making headlines in the country and, of course, beyond. On behalf of the entire production team, my name is William Kumwembe, but always remember, if it doesn't make money, it doesn't make sense. Bye for now.